Hi, my name is Ujjwal. I've been a UX designer for the last 10 years. Currently, I'm managing a team of designers and researchers at Spinny. And today I want to talk about why your portfolio is being rejected when you apply for a job. Now, this video is specifically targeted for entry-level designers, and I'll be talking about a few things that I, as a hiring manager, look at when I'm going through different profiles. First thing that is very critical is that it is very hard for me to find visual design in your portfolio. I've seen so many portfolios in the last week itself, and I was reading very lengthy documents where the visual design actually appeared right at the end when I spent around 5 to 7 minutes. And frankly speaking, a recruiting manager will not be spending so much time on a portfolio. What I want is that I get a sense of what you are as a designer in at least the first minute of me looking at your portfolio. So keep your visual designs on top. The other thing that I also sensed when I was looking through these documents were that they're not very realistic documents. You know, when you're working for a fast-paced product company, that is not the extent of research that we actually go through. So even though it gives a sense of how you think, how your problem solving is, but some of these documents are way too long for a project which was very small. An example could be designing a search suggestion for an e-commerce platform, and I could see a research which was around 30 minutes worth of reading time. Now that is something which is a complete no-no, at least for me as a hiring manager. The second thing is that, your designs do not look professional. Visual design is, of course, a subjective matter. For different people, visual design could mean different things. But at least the basis, the bare minimum should be there in your designs. And that is something that I felt was lacking. I've seen like a lot of people doing a lot of online design courses where you are taught how to write great documents, how to, do design thinking, asking the how might we's, and, doing all kinds of user interviews. But I think one thing that has been missed in all these courses across is how do you design using a design system? How do you design using material design or the iOS design guidelines that there is? The buttons are all over the place. The typography is not according to how all the other apps in your phone look like. And if you just compare your design with an app that you really use every day and compare the two and see if the heading font size is similar, if the button sizes are similar. So this thing is very important that, at least your design should look bare minimum professional. That's what I would call it, right? Because what happens is when we are going to hire any intern in our team, we are basically looking for somebody that we don't have to spend too much time on. Because if we are hiring an intern, that means that we have work which needs to be designated. That means that we are already overworked. If I'm going and hiring an intern, I would want somebody with whom I will have to spend less time to train them to be production ready designers, right? The next thing, and which I think is very critical for me, is how much proficiency do you have over the tool that we all use, Figma, right? There are so many features that Figma keeps on introducing, and I'm not even talking about the latest features, but at least having the knowledge. And it's not just about having the knowledge of, but are you using auto layouts in your designs or not? Now, you may think that why is it so important? It is important because when you work in a large design team and all the designers in the team are using auto layouts, and if you're not, then your designs are basically something that other designers cannot collaborate on. It becomes very difficult for the whole team. So that is why I'm looking for a team member who is proficient, who is comfortable using auto layout. And there are other features as well, right? Components and how to create variants of those components, how to create instances, where you can change things and, things like that. Now, why is that important? Because all good organizations, if you go to any product company, they will have design systems in place. Now, if you don't understand components and instances, you will not be able to use that design system efficiently. You will not be able to collaborate with the team. Again, collaboration within the design team is very critical. Another thing that I feel is underrated is a designer needs to be organized. Okay. Organization as a designer makes you more collaborative Because if you're organized, if you label your layers properly, if you don't have duplicate layers which should not exist, this is something that I look for. If I've gotten any portfolio and I think the portfolio is good, I try to find the Figma file. And even if I've gotten a viewing access, I quickly make a duplicate. I start looking at how the designer actually designed that file. And one red flag that I always, I don't miss at all is, are you still using groups? Now, why are groups being, downlooked at? Why is it like that? So technically speaking, we used to work in Photoshop some 7-8 years back, and then we switched to Sketch, and we were using groups everywhere. But the moment Figma came in, it had this concept called frames, and frames were much more scalable than groups could ever be. And that's what frames led to these auto layout frames now. So people who are still using groups, I know it's very intuitive just to club things together, but that's not how, at least in the professional space, us designers are working. We're not using groups anywhere, right? We are using auto layouts. We are using components wherever we can. We are labeling things. And we are making it very easy for another designer to come into that file, because you're always working in a team of 10 plus designers. Your design needs to be accessible by everybody, right? So accessibility by other designers is dependent upon how organized your design file is. So all of this is what we are actually looking for, right? And I know for an entry-level designer to have all of these things is almost impossible. So we are looking at the closest match, basically, right? Closest. So at least this is one part that I don't have to work on, or this is at least the two parts are covered. If you're using auto layout and maybe your visual design is not that great, I'll see at least you understand the concept of auto layout, you'll pick up the visual design part. If your visual design is great and you're labeling files, so then at least this part is covered. And finally, this is all in terms of using Figma. Why is it so important for me to look at that and not your document, not your problem solving? Because at an entry level, and this is why I said at the beginning of the video that this video is specifically made for entry level designers, is at entry level, you're not doing a lot of research, to be very honest. You would be doing research because, again, as I mentioned, I have a team where there are researchers and we are collaborating. What I feel is that at entry level, you will not be expected to do high intensity documentation or high intensive, research work. So the first expectation from you would be, at least, as me, if I'm managing your team, let's say, I'd be expecting you to be good at design. And then slowly we can move on to documentation, research, and these other things that those are not your primary function as a designer. As a primary function for your product design is your design skills. So I want somebody, at least that's what I'm looking for. This is the first video that I've created, on this channel, and this is a brand new channel that I've created just for design. So, I hope you found all of this information useful. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with all these things that I talked about, creating video on each of these topics. And then I'm also going to talk about how to write better design documents. I will be talking about portfolios. I'll be talking about a lot of, product design related stuff. So subscribe to this channel or follow this page if you're on Instagram. And thank you and have a lovely day. Goodbye.